My tongue's 8.6 centimeters wide, a little more than 2 centimeters wider than the new iPhone 6.
These individuals defy imagination, each with a body part so extraordinary that it makes the ordinary seem impossible. From a baby with a gigantic trunk like an elephant, to a woman whose feet are as big as a laptop, to a woman with a 10-inch beard. Join us as we reveal the 10 people with the largest body parts in the world and the stories behind them. Number 15. Lakshmi. In 2015, Lakshmi was born in Aligarh, a small town in Uttar Pradesh, India, with a rare facial deformity, a small trunk-like growth between her eyes resembling an elephant's trunk. Her unusual appearance drew both fear and fascination. Villagers believed she was an incarnation of the Hindu deity Ganesha. They flocked to see her, making offerings and affectionately calling her Lakshmi, meaning goddess of wealth and prosperity, or Lord Ganpatni, Ganesha's wife. She was the fifth child of Om Prakash, a vegetable seller, and Sarvesh, a homemaker. With limited prenatal care, the family opted for a home birth attended only by a midwife. At birth, the protuberance on her face split her nose in two, shocking the family and sparking curiosity across the community. Doctors explained that Lakshmi's growth was likely a rare genetic mutation, possibly influenced by malnutrition or environmental factors. Without surgery, she could have struggled to breathe and speak. At 8 months old, she underwent an operation to remove the excess tissue. The surgery transformed her appearance, but left her with the appearance of two noses. Despite medical explanations, villagers continue to revere her. Festivals celebrate her presence, and offerings honor her perceived divine connection, keeping alive the belief in her as an incarnation of Ganesha. From a child revered as divine for her unique appearance in India, we travel to China, where another young life captured the world's attention, not for looks, but for an extraordinary weight that defied all expectations. Number 14. Lu Jihao. In 2011, a 3-year-old boy from a small riverside village in southern China made global headlines as the heaviest child in the world. Lu Jihao's small frame already weighed over 60 kilograms, 5 times the weight of a typical child his age. His cheeks were puffed so high they nearly covered his eyes. Folds of flesh bulged like a miniature Michelin man, and his legs bowed under the constant strain. His early life gave no warning of what was to come. Born at a modest 5 pounds, 7 ounces, he began gaining weight rapidly around 3 months old, leaving doctors puzzled. By the age of 3, he could no longer attend nursery school due to safety concerns, and his parents were forced to care for him full-time. Mealtimes became battles. He threw tantrums if denied second, third, or even fourth helpings of ribs and rice. Exercise only made things worse. Swimming or playing basketball left him ravenous, demanding more food than ever. His parents took him to 3 hospitals. Hormone tests came back normal. One doctor feared a brain tumor, but it was quickly ruled out. Hormone therapy was considered, but surgery was far too dangerous. In every photograph of Lu Jihao, his eyes are almost always squeezed shut beneath his heavy cheeks, as if the world itself were closing in on him. Though he drew enormous attention, he seemed to vanish from the public eye in the years that followed, leaving a haunting question about what became of him. While Lu Jihao faces challenges of size, the next person literally makes people wonder just how big the eyes are. Number 13. Tio Chico. Sidney de Carvalho Mesquita from Brazil, also known as Tio Chico, holds the world record for the farthest eyeball pop by a male. His eyes can protrude an astonishing 18.22 millimeter beyond his eye sockets, a feat officially verified in São Paulo in January 2022. Sidney discovered his unusual ability at the age of 9 while making faces in front of a mirror. He noticed that his eyes could pop out much further than anyone else's. His family and friends were amazed, though his parents initially worried it might signal a medical problem. Thankfully, it was simply an extraordinary talent. The medical term for this phenomenon is globe luxation, which describes the temporary protrusion of an eyeball from its socket. Measuring such a pop is precise work, requiring an optometrist and a device called a proptometer. Despite the dramatic appearance, Sidney's eyes are healthy, and his skill does not harm his well-being. Sidney can extend his eyeballs for 20 to 30 seconds, during which his vision temporarily fades. A slight burning sensation occurs as the eyes dry, so he cannot keep them protruding for too long. He maintains eye health with regular lubrication and careful care, especially before public demonstrations. Sidney has honed his talent naturally over the years and enjoys sharing it with the world. He performs at live events to entertain audiences of all ages. Outside of his eye-popping skill, he is a drummer, DJ, occasional cosplayer, and runs a small burger delivery business called Tio Chico's Burger. He balances this with a full-time career in sales and enjoys traveling, watching movies, and spending time with his wife, who is his biggest supporter. Our next story takes us to Pakistan, where one man's body grew in ways no one could control. Number 12. Sain Mumtaz. As a child, Sain Mumtaz from Pakistan was diagnosed with Proteus syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that causes abnormal growth of tissues in different parts of the body. Over the years, his head, hands, and feet have grown uncontrollably. While most people stop growing in adulthood, Sain's affected areas continue to enlarge. The condition has brought enormous physical, emotional, and social challenges. Daily life is complex, and he has faced isolation, discrimination, and the pain of knowing he may never form close relationships or find love. During his childhood, Sain's family sought little medical help. At 18, the leading Australian clinical geneticist, Dr. Edwin Kirk, expressed interest in visiting Pakistan to examine him. With years of experience in extreme congenital deformities, Dr. Kirk planned to run tests and scans, then consult with Dr. Glenn Marshall in Australia to determine possible treatments. Now 35, Sain has accepted his condition, but continues to seek ways to enhance his daily life. Proteus syndrome has no known cure, and treatments primarily focus on managing symptoms, removing excess tissue, alleviating pain, and promoting mobility. He dreams of running a rickshaw business, but sees little chance for marriage. Believing his condition is a personal curse from God, Sain bears it alone. Yet he faces each day with courage, quietly seeking ways to live with dignity and hope for a better life. As Sain struggles with uncontrollable growth, the next person faces an entirely different challenge: hair growth that transformed her entire life. Number 11. Vivien Wheeler. As a baby, Vivien Wheeler's mother noticed unusual hair growth on her face and body. At first, they thought it would fade with age, but it never did. As a child, thick, coarse hair grew along her chin and jawline, resembling a man's beard rather than typical peach fuzz. Her family was shocked and worried about how the outside world would react to the news. Vivien suffered from congenital hypertrichosis, also called werewolf syndrome. This rare genetic mutation causes excessive growth of terminal hairs anywhere on the body. Unlike hormonal disorders, it is purely genetic. For Vivien, shaving, even twice a day, offered only temporary relief. The hair would grow back within hours, eventually forming a full, flowing beard. Childhood and adolescence were difficult. Classmates teased her, neighbors whispered, and strangers stared. She often covered her face or avoided going out altogether. The condition carried into adulthood, affecting nearly every aspect of her life. Confidence and relationships were challenging, and finding work was difficult, as employers judged her appearance. Much of her adult years were spent in isolation. Over time, Vivien came to embrace her uniqueness. She realized she could either hide forever or accept the hair as part of her identity. Slowly, she chose acceptance. Her beard eventually reached 10.14 inches, earning her recognition from Guinness World Records as the woman with the longest beard. Doctors confirmed that no shaving, waxing, or laser treatment could permanently stop its growth. Regrowth was inevitable. By the 2000s, her beard had become her defining feature. From Vivien's full-grown beard to full-grown feet, our next record holder towers above the rest, quite literally, with feet that make every shoe a challenge. Number 10. Tanya Herbert. From her early years in Houston, Texas, Tanya was taller than every child in her class, towering even in elementary school. By high school, she reached nearly 6 feet 9 inches. Her height came with challenges, but even more striking were her feet, nearly as long as a laptop. In 2022, Guinness World Records officially measured Tanya's feet. Her right foot was 13.3 inches, her left 12.79 inches, larger than most men's size 18 shoes. She became the world record holder for the largest feet on a living woman. But Tanya knew the title came with a cost. Shoes, something most people take for granted, were a constant struggle. Women's shoes never fit. Men's shoes were sometimes usable, but rarely right. When nothing worked, she had to customize and stretch shoes herself. Without proper support, she developed blisters and joint problems. Doctors confirmed Tanya's size wasn't caused by disease, no gigantism, no hormone disorder, no tumor. She was naturally tall, and her feet grew to match her height. Even so, her feet were unusually long, far beyond average. Instead of hiding, Tanya embraced her difference. She allowed Guinness to measure her feet, not for fame, but to share her story. On social media, she highlighted the challenges of living in a world not built for people like her, calling on the fashion industry to consider diversity beyond size and color, designing for people outside the norm. Tanya's massive feet show how the body can surprise, but for the next person, his body betrayed him entirely, growing uncontrollably in a rare and life-altering condition. Number 9. Wesley Warren Jr. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your body is no longer your own. Something begins to grow uncontrollably, weighing you down more and more with each passing day. That was the reality for Wesley Warren Jr., a man from Las Vegas whose life became consumed by a rare medical condition so extreme it shocked the world. Born on the 23rd of June, 1963, Wesley Warren Jr. was an ordinary man living in Las Vegas. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, and he certainly never imagined his body would one day make him a headline. However, in 2008, everything changed suddenly after a tragic accident. Wesley's ordeal started after what he believed was an accidental injury to his groin. According to his own account, he rolled over in bed one night and struck himself in the testicles. It was painful, but at first, he brushed it off. He thought it was just another bruise that would heal with time. But it didn't heal. Over the weeks that followed, Wesley noticed his scrotum beginning to swell. What started as discomfort quickly became alarming. The swelling didn't stop. Month after month, It grew larger and heavier until it was impossible to ignore. Doctors later explained that what Wesley was experiencing was a form of scrotal lymphedema, often called scrotal elephantiasis. This ailment happens when the body's drainage network for fluid stops working correctly in the groin area. Normally, lymph fluid flows through vessels, carrying waste and excess liquid out of tissues. However, when those vessels become blocked or damaged, the fluid accumulates. Over time, that buildup causes massive swelling. In parts of the world like Africa or Asia, the condition is often linked to parasitic infections. But in Wesley's case, doctors believed it wasn't caused by parasites at all. Instead, it was likely triggered by his injury, combined with underlying health issues. Once the swelling began, the body could no longer stop it. The result was devastating. His scrotum grew until it weighed 132 pounds. For Wesley, daily life became a nightmare. Walking even short distances left him exhausted. Using the bathroom required special adjustments, and even finding clothes that could cover him was a challenge. Finally, in 2013, Wesley was able to undergo corrective surgery. Doctors at the University of California, Irvine, performed a 13-hour operation to remove the massive growth. In total, they removed around 200 pounds of tissue, including the scrotal mass and excess fat from his abdomen. It was a brutal, complex procedure that required a whole team of surgeons, but it gave Wesley something he hadn't had in years: hope. When he woke up from surgery, he was able to see his body transformed. The enormous weight he had carried for so long was gone. He could walk again, stand straighter, and begin to reclaim some of the freedom he had lost. Wesley's story didn't end the way many hoped it would. Just 1 year after the surgery, he passed away at the age of 49 from complications from ongoing health problems that his weakened body could no longer fight. Just as Wesley's body underwent a dramatic transformation, the next person's single unusual feature would reshape an entire back. Number 8. Didier Montalvo. Being born with a large, dark shell on one's back can feel like a nightmare, and for a Colombian boy, Didier Montalvo, it was a real-life experience. Born in a small town in Colombia, far from advanced hospitals, Didier's birth seemed normal, but soon his parents noticed the huge, dark patch of skin covering much of his torso and back, resembling a shell. As he grew, the mark expanded and thickened. Neighbors called him El Niño Tortuga, or the Turtle Boy. In rural Colombia, superstition shaped perceptions. Many saw his condition as a curse or punishment rather than a medical issue. In reality, Didier had congenital melanocytic nevi, a rare disorder in which pigment cells overgrow to form giant birthmarks. In his case, the nevi stretched across his back like a turtle shell. The condition was not only cosmetic. These lesions carry a high risk of turning cancerous. Treatment was out of reach in Didier's town. Surgeries were expensive and complex, requiring specialized expertise. For years, he simply lived with the condition, powerless to change it. Everything changed when international media highlighted Didier's story. Photos of the boy shocked audiences worldwide. British surgeon Dr. Neil Bulstrode, an expert in reconstructive surgery at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital, decided to help. In 2011, he traveled to Colombia to operate. The surgeries were complex. The nevi were deeply embedded in skin and tissue, requiring multiple operations over several years. Doctors carefully excised sections of the growth and used skin grafts from Didier's own body to cover exposed areas. Each procedure took a toll, but Didier faced them with courage. Gradually, the shell disappeared, and after the final surgeries, he emerged with a transformed body. And if a shell on the back seems incredible, the next case is so unique that it challenged science, superstition, and daily survival. Number 7. Rudy Santos. Born in 1953 in Iligan City, Philippines, Rudy Santos entered the world with extra limbs, body parts, and a malformed growth attached to his stomach and pelvis. The condition was so rare that even local doctors were unfamiliar with it. His family faced whispers, superstition, and fear. In rural communities, physical deformities were often seen as curses or punishments. Rudy grew up with a body that made daily life difficult and carried a social stigma that followed him everywhere. Despite this, his family raised him with love and affection. His siblings treated him as normally as possible, but his life's path was far from ordinary. Rudy's condition was the result of parasitic twinning. Usually, identical twins form when a fertilized egg splits into two embryos. Sometimes the split fails, as one twin stops developing and is absorbed by the other. The surviving twin carries the extra parts of the underdeveloped twin, either inside or outside the body. In Rudy's case, the parasitic twin attached externally, leaving him with an extra pair of arms, an extra pair of legs, a malformed shoulder, and parts of a head-like growth. Unlike conjoined twins, these limbs were non-functional, draining nutrients and energy from Rudy's body. As he grew, his unusual body made everyday work impossible. His family struggled financially, and opportunities were scarce. Eventually, he turned to the sideshow circuit, which gave him both income and notoriety. Rudy traveled with carnivals across the Philippines, where audiences paid to see him. Posters called him Octoman, presenting him under bright lights as a human oddity. By the 1990s, Rudy left the public eye. Though he had earned enough to retire from the sideshow, he lived in isolation, coping with the physical and emotional toll of his condition. For years, many believed he had died. Rudy Santos survived in solitude, describing those years as some of the loneliest of his life. He passed away in April 2022, at the age of 69. Tragically, the next individual's extraordinary condition led to complications that ultimately claimed her life. Number 6. Yao Defen. As a teenager, Yao Defen grew so tall that every doorway felt too small, every bed too short, and every step heavier than the last. For this woman from rural China, it was not a metaphor, it was her life. At 7 feet 8 inches, she became the tallest woman in the world, but her extraordinary size came with equal pain. Yao was born in 1972 in Shucheng County, a small farming village in Anhui Province. At first, nothing seemed unusual. By the age of 3, she was already taller than most children, and by the time she was 11, she stood over 6 feet tall. Medical care was scarce, and her parents didn't understand what was happening. The cause was a pituitary tumor, a growth on the gland in her brain that controls hormones. The tumor triggered excessive growth hormone, resulting in gigantism, a rare condition in which the body grows uncontrollably. Her growth continued unchecked. By adulthood, she had reached 7 feet 8 inches and weighed around 350 pounds, wearing a men's shoe size 26. Initially, her height brought her fame. Local media called her a giant, and for a brief time, she performed in circus exhibitions. But gigantism is devastating to the body. The heart works harder, joints wear down, and bones ache under constant strain. Yao also suffered chronic headaches and dizziness from the tumor pressing on her pituitary gland. Doctors explained that early surgery could have controlled her growth, but her family could not afford treatment. By the time she received care in her 30s, the damage was irreversible. In 2002, Guinness World Records recognized Yao's height, officially measuring her at 7 feet 8 inches, making her the tallest living woman at the time. Documentaries and television appearances brought her international attention. By her 40s, years of uncontrolled gigantism had taken a severe toll. She suffered heart problems and osteoporosis. In 2012, she collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. Despite efforts to save her, she passed away at age 40. The official cause of death was a heart condition, likely worsened by her size and the long-term effects of gigantism. The next individual turned a rare genetic anomaly into a weapon, dominating the arm wrestling world with a single extraordinary arm. Number 5. Matias Hellboy Schlitta. Hellboy is not your typical arm wrestler. Born with a rare genetic defect that made his right forearm 33% larger and stronger than his left, Matias had an unconventional childhood. Kids often teased him, unaware that his unusual arm would one day make him a phenomenon. Matias began arm wrestling at the age of 16, encouraged by his mother. He entered a tournament for men weighing up to 90 kilograms, although he weighed only 67 kilograms. Opponents underestimated him at first, but as matches began, awe replaced laughter. Matias defeated every challenger, realizing he had found his calling. Over the past decade, he has become a dominant force in arm wrestling, winning 7 German championships and 14 international titles. His right arm, the result of his genetic anomaly, gives him a decisive advantage against opponents who underestimate him. Matias credits his gift to early experiences, such as carrying a large bucket of coal for his family's oven at the age of 3. But the next legend didn't rely on one arm. His colossal hands and forearms made him a force no opponent could ignore. Number 4. Jeff Dabe. Hailing from Minnesota, USA, Jeff Dabe's colossal hands have amazed fans worldwide. He began arm wrestling in the 1980s and quickly gained prominence. What sets him apart are his massive forearms, measuring 19 inches in circumference, and hands large enough to cradle a basketball, tools that make him a formidable competitor. However, there's a twist. Jeff primarily uses his left arm due to an old injury. Despite this limitation, he has defeated countless opponents, earning the nickname the Giant Killer. His strength and unique abilities continue to captivate fans. Questions about the origins of his enormous hands led to medical tests to see if gigantism or another condition was responsible. Surprisingly, no disease was found. Jeff was born with naturally oversized arms and hands that grew with him. Surprisingly, no disease was found. Jeff was born with naturally oversized arms and hands that grew with him, just like the next superdad. Number 3. Byron Schlenker. Right from small, Byron Schlenker from New York had always known that his tongue was large, but never imagined it could make him a record breaker. It started innocently when 47-year-old Brian was helping his then 14-year-old daughter, Emily, with a school project. While browsing a Guinness Book of World Records at the library, they saw the record for the world's widest tongue, 3.1 inches. Curious, Byron measured his own. It stretched to 3.37 inches. To put that in perspective, it was wider than an iPhone 6, and enough to break the record. Soon after, he was officially crowned the world's champion of the widest tongue. Fame followed quickly. In his hometown, people nicknamed him the Gobfather. Strangers stopped him in stores to take photos, and some even visited his home to get autographs. One fan went so far as to ask him to lick her Guinness World Records book, a request he politely declined. But when it comes to the mouth, one teenager would take things even further, not with width, but with how far he could stretch it. However, the next record breaker showed that it's not just about strength. Even a single body part can turn you into a world sensation. Number 2. Isaac Johnson. This teenager from Minnesota seems ordinary until he opens his mouth. Isaac Johnson's jaw can stretch wider than 4 inches, a feat that has left dentists and the public alike amazed. Inspired by the former record holder, Isaac set his sights on a Guinness World Record and achieved it. What sets Isaac apart is the sheer size of his gape. He can fit objects like an apple, a soda can, or even a baseball into his mouth with room to spare. The ability isn't painful, though holding it wide for long periods can be tiring. Isaac discovered his talent in 2015. At first, he and his family saw it as a party trick, never imagining it could lead to fame. But his mouth would soon take him on a record-breaking journey. In 2019, at the age of 14, Isaac was officially recognized for his massive mouth gape, measuring 19.34 centimeters. The record was soon surpassed by Philip Angus from Pennsylvania, whose gap measured 9.57 centimeters. Refusing to be defeated, Isaac reclaimed the title in October 2020, stretching his mouth to 10.15 centimeters, about the size of a baseball. He continued to push boundaries. In February 2022, on the set of Low Show Day Record in Milan, Italy, Isaac extended his gape by another 0.021 centimeters, breaking his own record once more. From a curious teenager to a world record sensation, Isaac's jaw-dropping ability has captivated millions, making him an instant celebrity and a viral star on platforms like TikTok. While Isaac gained fame for his record-breaking mouth gape, the next person became widely known for something that consumed her entirely and nearly destroyed her life. Number 1. Pauline Potter. For Pauline, life at over 700 pounds was not just difficult, it was devastating. Born in California in 1963, she grew up with big dreams, but her relationship with food became a curse. Food became emotional comfort, filling voids, easing loneliness, and dulling pain. By her teenage years, her weight had already exceeded the average, and it continued to rise into adulthood. Despite her size, Pauline reached life milestones. She married and had a son, Dylan. But over the years, her body grew heavier, her health more fragile, and her independence slipped away. By 2011, her weight reached 643 pounds. That year, Guinness World Records named her the world's heaviest woman alive. Pauline never sought the title. It showed the struggles she faced every day. Her condition was more than overeating. Morbid obesity, a complex disorder influenced by genetics, lifestyle, and emotional health, placed extreme strain on her heart, lungs, and joints. At her size, her body was constantly at risk. Obesity also carried emotional weight. Food addiction mirrored substance abuse, with compulsions that overrode reason. Pauline's world shrank to her home, where she required assistance with almost everything, and her teenage son became her caretaker. Her story drew attention when she revealed a detail about her marriage. After separating from her husband, they briefly reunited, not out of romance, but because he fed her, catering to her addiction and fueling her weight gain. In 2012, Pauline joined TLC's My 600-Pound Life. Under the guidance of Dr. Yunan Nozaradan, she embarked on the most challenging journey of her life, losing enough weight to qualify for surgery. For the first time, she had a structured plan to confront both the physical and emotional roots of her struggle. The process was complex. Pauline resisted the strict program at times, frustrated and skeptical. Yet, she began losing weight, slowly regaining mobility. Even with surgery, her battle required lifelong discipline, therapy, and self-awareness. Setbacks came, including complications and slowed progress, but she continued to fight. While Pauline's story played out on television halfway across the world, another set of siblings was making headlines, not for weight, but for extraordinary height. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.